In Capital News tonight, hundreds welcome Deputy Chair of Chadema Party Tundu Lissu after being away for 5 years. Teacher accused of caning 2 students fired. And in sports, Zimbabwean boxer Nkube Ndudane arrives in Dar es Salaam for the fight against Ibrahim Klaus. Good evening. This is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Vanessa Victor. Let's get started with the national news. Hundreds of Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo Chadema Party have gone out to welcome the Deputy Chair of the party, Tundu Lissu, who returned to the country after living in Belgium for 5 years, where he was being treated after being shot by unknown assailants in Dodoma on September 7th, 2017.
Kuna kamstari mahali ambako kako kwenye hii katiba kanakoelezea kwa nini bei ya maharage ni sawa na bei ya nyama. Hako kamstari kanasema hivi, kanazungumzia mamlaka ya bunge ya kutunga sheria za masuala ya fedha. Hako kamstari kwenye katiba kanasema hivi, bunge halitajadili hoja au muswada au jambo lolote linalohusu fedha.
Misingi yote ya ilani ya chama chetu na sera za chama chetu imejikita katika utetezi wa uhuru wa watu, haki za watu, demokrasia ya watu na maendeleo ya watu.
The President of Tanzania, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, has appointed 37 new and reshuffled 48 district commissioners, with 55 others remaining in their posts. In Dar es Salaam, all district commissioners from all 5 districts have been reshuffled. And the government of Kagera has fired the headmaster of Kakanja Primary School in Kyerwa District, Isaiah Benjamin Emmanuel, who is accused of caning 2 Standard 4 students of the school on their feet for not doing their homework, which is against the Educational Guideline number 24 of 2022.
Kwa nini mwalimu huyu aliwachapa wanafunzi? Aliwachapa wanafunzi kwa sababu hawakufanya homework waliopewa wakati wa likizo. Kwa hiyo akaona adhabu kubwa ya kuitoa ni kuwachapa wanafunzi namna alivyowachapa. Kosa lake kubwa hakurekodi baada ya kutoa adhabu, lakini jambo jingine, upigaji wake ulikuwa ni wa kumkanyaga mwanafunzi miguu, kumpiga kwenye miguu, jambo ambalo lingeweza kupelekea afya kuteteleka ya mwanafunzi husika.
Kitendo mtoto alichofanywa ni ukiukaji wa haki za mtoto na ukiukaji wa haki za binadamu na ni ukatili.
The European Union, along with ambassadors from countries of the EU, including ambassadors to Belgium, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Spain and the Netherlands, have assured of continued close cooperation with the government of Tanzania in various fields, including ensuring clean and safe water services so as to ensure that each citizen benefits and has access to the services.
I have to say we are quite impressed by the quality of better understanding the local reality, the local needs.
Mradi uko 65% mpaka sasa hivi, na matarajio yetu ni mwishoni mwa mwezi wa 4 tutaanza majaribio ya huu mradi.
The importance of this project has to be seen to be appreciated. 10% of what the demand would be at the figures of 160 million.
Scholars and Swahili experts during the Safal Cornell Swahili Award for African Literature, which involved competitors from various countries and was attended by the Prime Minister, Kassim Majaliwa, have been urged to use the growth and spread of the language to promote the language and make it used more in the African continent, with the government called on to create policies specifically geared towards growth of the language, including expanding the scope of employment through its use in science and technology.
Wizara ya Utamaduni, Sanaa na Michezo, ambayo ndio yenye dhamana ya Kiswahili, endeleeni kuratibu vema na kushirikiana na wadau mbalimbali katika kuhakikisha kwamba lugha ya Kiswahili inakuwa, inaenea na Tanzania kuendelea kuwa kinara wa maendeleo ya lugha hii.
Kila mwaka tunawekeza takribani $50,000 katika tuzo hizi. Mpaka sasa halafu imedhamini wanafunzi 12.
And the President of Zanzibar and Chairman of the Revolutionary Council, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, has said that the arrival of medical specialists from the United States of America is a good sign and a rare opportunity for the development of the health sector in Zanzibar. Dr. Mwinyi said this in State House in Zanzibar when speaking to a team of doctors from the US and Belgium led by Professor Bruno Jovan Herdro from the International Society for Gynecologic Endoscopy.
Our intention is to have a center of excellence. What we need is infrastructure, the technical know-how, and the equipment. Now that we are about to have the infrastructure, and the fact that you are here to give us the technical know-how, I'm not worried at all about the cost of the equipment. This is well within our reach. We could very much make available the amount of money required, and we'll certainly go with your recommendation on the company that should supply this because of your experience in the equipment.
What we realize in surgery is that in endoscopic surgery that the primary investment actually is quite important. But if you look at the long end and the macroeconomic thing, then of course if you can bring the patients back to work or back into the family, the long-term, let's say, benefits of this kind of surgery are very important.
And the government of Tunduru in Ruvuma region has conducted a 3-day house-to-house search operation in the middle of the night to seek out all students that have not reported to school to join Form 1, which has led to the arrest of 763 parents.
Modesta yuko wapi?
Amelala.
Kwa nini hajajiunga Form 1?
Ndio kwenye maandalizi.
Kwa hiyo msitake kuikwaza serikali. Sijui kama tumeelewana Ndio maana tumewafuata usiku huu ili kuhakikisha kwamba kesho Modesta anaripoti shuleni. Modesta mwenyewe yuko wapi?
Amelala.
Muamshe.
Mode. Amuka.
Aha, Modesta ujambo?
Jambo sawa.
Marahaba. Unanifahamu mimi? Mimi ni nani?
Ndio simtatini.
Ni nani?
Mkuu wa wilaya.
Aha. Jumla ya wazazi 763 wamekamatwa katika maeneo mbalimbali, na kwa sababu hiyo baada ya kukamatwa wamewapeleka watoto shuleni. Lakini baada ya kufanya hiyo operation ya siku 2, wazazi wengine ambao waliona operation imeanza, wazazi zaidi ya 600 na wao pia wamebeba watoto wao na kupeleka shuleni. Wao wameona operation, lakini 700 ilibidi tuwakamate. Kwa hiyo tutaendelea kuwakamata au mzazi mwenyewe akimbize mtoto shuleni.
The exercise to discuss the request by Somalia to join the East African community has continued to pick up pace, with the EAC sending a delegation to determine if Somalia is ready to join the community.
Somalia walifanya application kwa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki na wakuu wetu wa nchi zote za Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki kwa kikao chao cha 23 wakatoa maamuzi kwamba ni jambo la muhimu tuanze huu mchakato. Tumeanza rasmi leo. Kwa hivyo tuko na delegation kubwa kutoka nchi zote 7 za Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki kule Mogadishu, wanajadiliana kuangalia kama kweli Somalia iko tayari kujiunga na.
That's all for the national news. International news is next. In international news, fierce fighting has continued between government military forces and fighters from the M23 group in Masisi and Rutshuru districts in eastern parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo, whereby the road was closed by the rebels more than 70 kilometers northwest of Goma.
Waweze kupatia Rwanda malipizi na sisi ni ile waweze kukamata jukumu za kwao. Sisi tunawaza ndani ya hizo jukumu, sisi kama vile raia, kama vile shirika la raia, tuko tunaomba mapei ya EAC, tuko tunaomba mapei ya Union Africaine, tuko tunaomba mapei ya Umoja wa Mataifa waweze kupatia Rwanda malipizi kwa ile yake yenye haipendi kuacha uchochezi wa vita ndani ya ardhi yetu ya Kongo.
In another development in Kenya, the mediator of the DRC security crisis, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, has called for an end to the fighting and for adherence to agreements made to end the conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The call comes as another round of talks on peace in Eastern DRC are about to begin.
Inter-Congolese dialogue kilifanyika Nairobi mwezi wa 12. Na cha muhimu zaidi kitafanyika mwezi huu. Tutaifanya kule Bujumbura, Burundi, ama tufanye kule Goma. Tuone ni mambo gani yamefanyika tangu tulikutane na hawa makundi hapa Nairobi. Hiyo kikao cha 4 tunaendelea kupanga kifanyike Burundi au Goma. Tuone sasa ni vitu gani zinataka sifanyike. Pia kwa upande wetu tuwasaidie wale vikundi ndio sasa waondoke pale kwa usalama. Nia letu ni si vita na tutaki vita katika jumuiya letu, lakini cha muhimu zaidi ni kuona kwa amani, tutaishi kwa amani namna gani, na hiyo ndio tunafanyika na viongozi wetu katika jumuiya wako tayari na sisi tuko tayari kuona kama Eastern DRC itapata amani.
And the police force has prevented former opposition leader of FDC, retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye, from participating in a meeting aimed at discussing the launch of the first oil drilling program in Uganda that was organized by the African Initiative on Food Security and Environment. The police said that Dr. Besigye did not have a permit to attend the meeting.
So forced to deny citizens to discuss such important matters. And also the level of double standards in this country is one that indeed convicts those who are in charge of running Uganda today. Because just this weekend we saw Mr. Museveni's son, Mr. Muhoozi or General Muhoozi, whatever he goes by, holding public rallies in different parts of eastern Uganda, including holding public rallies in the road, in the middle of a road, guarded by security.
And Germany has presented its new policy for Africa that puts less emphasis than the former government on business links and more on respectful partnership that promote the interests of women, climate change mitigation, and common global values. For more on this, let's join our Deutsche Welle correspondent Hans Brandt. So Hans, the German government has just presented a new Africa policy. Why was that necessary?
Well, the major reason, I guess, is that we simply have a new government in Germany for the past year. It's a more left-leaning government, and it wanted to revise the policy of its more conservative predecessor government. So this new policy places less emphasis on business matters and stresses more, for instance, what it calls a feminist policy, the attempt to promote women and to respect the interests and the role of women in society, and also aspects such as climate change, carbon neutrality and so on. All of these matters become more important. But also there are significant economic interests that play a role here. Germany recently disconnected itself from its major energy supplier, that was Russia, and it's now looking for new sources of energy, and Africa is a very promising market there, or rather a promising supplier, because Africa could supply a lot of clean energy, mainly solar power energy, but also hydroelectric and wind power, and it could help in producing clean hydrogen, which Germany really is looking for. And then there are questions such as raw materials, which could come from Africa, and also agricultural supplies from Africa, so significant economic interests as well.
So what role does rivalries with other big international actors play in, such as China and Russia?
Yes, I think here we need to mention especially China, which is regarded as having a major footprint in Africa, having established this in the last 10 years or so with its huge infrastructure projects, especially in rails and roads, but it also controls large parts of, significant parts of raw materials, of mining and so on in Africa. Germany feels that Chinese cooperation with African countries is not really on an equal footing. In Germany, one would describe this cooperation as fairly one-sided and as having given African countries money, basically, and led them into further debt. What Germany is offering is, it hopes for more equal partnership. It says that it wants to listen to African voices, wants to help African countries to get out of debt and to have a more just transition, is the word they use. In other words, to improve their economies in a way that is more long-lasting in terms of climate change, for instance, but also such issues as the role of women or social justice.
Some African commentators have welcomed help from China because it has very few strings attached, while help from the West is regarded as neo-colonial in its insistence on human rights, for instance, or good governance. Does Germany help have strings attached?
Well, I mean, the German policy says that Germany wants to be a lot more attentive to issues of colonialism and neo-colonialism, that it wants to listen more carefully to what African critics have to say on this score. In other words, it wants to respect this criticism and in its cooperation make sure that these issues are dealt with. At the same time, it is saying that it would like to see its cooperation more in the framework of international organizations, of multilateral organizations, for instance, in cooperation between the European Union and the African Union, or in initiatives taken by the G20 group of countries, or within the United Nations or the World Bank. At the same time, one has to say that these kinds of strings continue to be attached to German aid. There is still an insistence on good governance, on human rights, and Germany does say that it is not likely to cooperate closely with autocratic governments in Africa.
Africa also has a very young population that is also growing rapidly. How does that influence German Africa policy?
That's seen both as an asset and as a problem, one has to say. As an asset in the sense that if Africa grows, if the young population in Africa gets educated well, stays in home countries and participates to the growth of those countries, then Africa could turn into a significant market for products from around the world, also from Europe, could be an economic powerhouse in many ways. On the other hand, at the moment the situation is such that many youth in Africa do not have very good prospects in their own countries. That drives them into the hands of terrorist groups or makes them think about going to faraway places such as Europe to look for a better life. The hope would be that by helping African youth to improve their lives within their own countries or within the continent, these kind of movements towards terrorist groups or illegal migration to Europe could be in some sense stopped.
Thank you, Hans, for that update, and that leads to the end of our international news. Business news follows after the break. In business news, the Business Registration and Licensing Agency, BRELA, has said that in order for Tanzania to make a rapid development, it needs sophisticated technology and industry owners who understand the importance of patent rights for their products.
Tumefanya mikoa yote, tumefanya mkoa Arusha kwenye vyuo vyote, vyuo vikuu, kwenye vyuo vya ufundi na zile shule zenye michipuo ya kisayansi.
Na kikubwa hapa tunachoseminishwa nacho hapa ni kujua taratibu na haki mbalimbali za masuala ya umiliki. Kwa kweli hii ni kozi ya muhimu sana.
And DSTV has launched a promotion that will enable customers to get a bigger package that will enable them to watch the English Premier League as well as more content on various channels.
Mteja ambaye analipia kifurushi chetu kile cha shilingi 10,000, kifurushi cha poa, akilipia cha juu yake ambacho ni bomba, yeye tunampeleka kwenye kifurushi cha juu yake ambacho kinaitwa shangwe. Ndani ya shangwe kule kuna maudhui mengi sana kwa ajili ya watoto, kuna katuni mbalimbali.
And councillors from Morogoro District Council have called on relevant authorities to ensure allocation of funds given to communities from the Mwalimu Nyerere Dam project go to intended councils, following complaints that the councils have not been involved in coming up with plans on utilization of the funds.
Za kwetu ama za kwetu kwa nini tusipasiwemo humu ili tupangie matumizi, jambo ambalo na imani yangu tukisipata zile fedha, shida za maboma na zingine zote zinaweza kumaliza zile fedha basi zapata katika tangu.
That is all for business news. Sports is next. In sports news, Zimbabwean boxer Nkube Ndundane has arrived in Dar es Salaam for the fight against Tanzanian boxer Ibrahim Class, set to take place on the 28th of this month in Tanga. And about 50 youth are expected to attend baseball training on Saturday, whereby their facilitators from Baseball Africa have provided gear to be used by the players.
Na kuangalia wachezaji wa baseball wa Tanzania wanaomaliza sekondari au wanaomaliza elimu ya kidato cha 6, namna gani watapata ufadhili kwa maana ya scholarship kwenda chuo chenye asili ya Uafrika.
And the golf tournament to commemorate the founder of Lugalo Golf Club and retired Chief of Defence Force, the Johnny Walker Waitara Trophy for 2023 is expected to start on January 28th at Lugalo Golf Club in Dar es Salaam.
Tunapigana, tuna mazoezi na kujiamini, naamini nitajitetea kikombe kitabaki nyumbani Lugalo Golf Club.
Nimejiandaa kushinda. Kwa tegemea nimerudi kivingine kwa sababu mashindano msimu uliopita 2021 nilishinda mimi.
And the Law Week Talents Soccer League has proceeded at the Sokoine Bombambili grounds in Songea, with the presiding judge of Songea, Dr. Yose Mbiambina, urging citizens to see the importance of solving disputes through arbitration.
Wa utatuzi wa migogoro kwa njia ya usuluhishi katika kukuza uchumi endelevu. Wajibu wa mahakama na wajibu wa wadau. Wadau ni wananchi, wakiwemo wanasoka kama ninyi, ambapo watumishi wetu wa mahakama pamoja na wadau mbalimbali wanatoa elimu ya sheria bure.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin. On behalf of everyone who worked to bring you this bulletin, my name is Vanessa Victor. Thank you for watching and good night.
Watch Capital News at 9:30 and get updated on what is happening in Tanzania and around the world on political, social, and economic issues and events, without forgetting business and sports news. You can get it all right here on Capital News at 9:30 from Monday to Friday on Zuku Channel 067, Digitech Channel 1103, and Facebook Capital Television Tanzania.
Sasa unaweza kutangaza biashara yako hapa ITV ukiwa popote Tanzania. Wasiliana na mawakala wetu wa mikoani.
Moshi Boisafi Shopping Center 0767552551 au 0764150744